Good morning.
Hi, Christine.
Oh, shit. Oh, had a little technical glitch this morning. Isn't that fun?
That was exciting.
Yeah, somebody else signed in on the district account and ended the meeting by mistake, and I got back signed in before her. So now let me make you both co-hosts. Hi, Julie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say today. Let's see, I gotta admit, and then I gotta make Julie a co-host. Yes. Whew, I think I'm caught up. We have a district Zoom account, and I think too many people know the password so they can get in like Dan does. And then inadvertently end the meeting for all of us, which is what just happened.
Oh,
I might have to just invest in my own account, and so that doesn't happen anymore.
have you had any
Maybe if
issues
you
with
can hear
Zoom
me, do
bombing?
not end the meeting. Again. Just leave it. Oops, Thomas Bennett's coming.
Hey, Julie, talk again. I've heard some echo.
Does this sound okay, or is there echo still?
No, you're okay now.
I can hear it.
Okay, good, thank you. I would hate to have to make you listen to that the entire time. That sounds awful.
I'm gonna call Mimi and tell her not to do that.
Yeah, good idea.
Well, I don't think she didn't realize how she even, oh, there she is again. Mimi, if you can hear me, don't end the meeting.
Yeah, I got cut off earlier, but I'm back.
I know. We have too many people on our district account.
Oh,
And so somebody signs in using that password, and then they try to sign off and they end up ending the meeting.
well, do you not have your own account?
Right.
Oh, well, let me know ever. I can always run one. I have 2 accounts.
Okay. Well, I probably should just get my own. Let's see where you are.
They were running a special at one point. If you paid for the year, it was a discount. So that's when I signed up.
Yeah. Okay, Mimi, where are you? Where's your...
Hey, Steve Lingenbrink, take that sport coat off. You're in Arizona.
In air conditioning, probably.
Hey, that picture behind Patty Scott looks a little familiar to me. Isn't that right down by where the Redfish restaurant is?
Somewhere along the coast.
Port Orford, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the guy's name that used to be the military correspondent on CNN or something that lived right there?
Rick Francona.
Yeah, Rick. We were going to Jim Walker's wife's funeral in Gold Beach, and we stopped and had lunch there at that place. And then, what was Rick's wife's name?
Molly. Oh,
Emily.
no, sorry, that was Jim's wife's name.
Emily.
Emily, right. Yeah, they came down and joined me and Del Gray there for lunch. That's a beautiful spot.
I'm on Zoom now.
Well, you ready to get started, or you want to wait a few minutes? Oh, she's on the phone.
I think if we wait another minute, because there's still people entering.
Sounds good.
We got 18 inches of snow in Evanston last night,
Oh my goodness.
and we already had a foot on the ground. So my workout today is going to be digging out my car.
I had to invest in a home gym so that I could go to the gym without leaving home.
At least you have power. I mean, all of Northern Oregon's been without power for,
You know what? In Cottage Grove down here in the southern Willamette Valley, we haven't even gotten snow. It's like,
No.
where's the snow?
yeah, we're in the warm belt apparently.
Okay, I got a couple more coming in. Done.
Yeah, and I feel very grateful I haven't lost power.
Yeah, because the country's just getting it, huh? Okay, Steve and Julie, I'm going to give it 3 more minutes to allow people to wander in, as it were.
All right,
Grab
I'll
their
get
cup
the
of-
PowerPoint set up.
I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, great.
And if not, then I'm going to have to get out the instruction manual real quick. No, I know you can.
There you go.
I'm really looking forward to this topic, the idea of virtual recruiting. What would have that been a year and a half ago?
Really?
I mean, who would have even thought about it?
We would have said, what? You're crazy.
No. What else is going on, you guys? You getting all gun quiet on me?
Yes.
I just want to say, Chris, that these meetings are so fulfilling and we can't thank you enough for that. It's
You wait till you hear what I'm trying to do for next month. We got the district membership report that said we're losing members. Yeah.
yeah,
And have been since before the pandemic, so we can't really blame that. Yeah, we know that too. And then
right.
I looked at who's really gaining members. Well, there's some districts in India and Nigeria that are really blowing it off the charts. And it's not just during the pandemic, but before the pandemic. They probably have all kinds of different philosophies over there, but I'm trying to get someone from that area of the planet to come and facilitate our next month's meeting about attracting members and getting new members. Does that sound cool?
Great idea. They'll probably just say it saves them from driving.
Yeah, well, I figure, you know, on Zoom, it's like the woman that I had about from New Zealand. It's, you know, you can get people from wherever. So let's see, what time is it? Got too many
It's
things
12
open. We got
oh-
one
sorry,
more minute and
10:04.
then I'll start. I like to give people a minute or two to wander in. Okay, we got Harry's waiting. Do-do-do. And Janet Houston. But this month we have a couple heavy hitters, and that we have Steve Lingenbrink from Arizona. I was going to say the Seattle area, but that blew that idea. He decided to leave right before the snowstorm, and you read the bios on the email I sent out yesterday, and it was in the district newsletter as well. And Julie Aubry from Evanston, with Rotary International. So we're going to be talking about recruiting virtually. Like I said, it was a topic that a year and a half ago, we would have never even thought was a topic. And here we are. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie and Steve and let them do the show. They'll be talking for about 15-ish minutes, give or take. And then we'll open it up and they will facilitate a discussion where you can share your ideas, your problems, and either they or another person in this group might have the answer to help you out, okay? With that, Julie, Steve, take it away.
Thank you so much, Christine. So good to see all of you. Thanks for having us. Like Christine said, I'm your regional membership officer and Rotary staff, and I'm joined today by Rotary coordinator Steve Lingenbrink, who brings a wealth of experience and knowledge around membership matters. We're really excited about leading you in a discussion about expanding our reach and attracting new members right now. And although we're going to share some content, as you're reacting to it, feel free to comment in the chat, and then we'll rely on your participation for the group discussion that we'll have following. But we're really, really excited to be sharing this. We know that it's been a challenging time, but there is a lot of opportunity right now.
That's right, Julie. There really is a lot of opportunity. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to take a few minutes to lay a foundation first. We're going to look at what it means to create an appealing or a vibrant environment in your club while we're in either a virtual or a hybrid situation. We're going to focus on first why members join, why they stay, and then unfortunately why many leave. And then we're going to hone right in on ways to attract and engage prospective members during these interesting and challenging times that we find ourselves in. Okay, Julie, shall we move forward?
Yes. So getting right down to it, vibrant club. No matter if you're meeting in line, in person, or both, they still carry some kind of charisma, right? So what are some of the characteristics of a vibrant club? Feel free to shout it out or enter it into the chat.
Well, I think.
Christine, you are muted.
I know, I said fun. You go in and you just feel that energy. Yeah, I shouted it out. Nobody heard me though. Okay, I'm gonna mute again. I have the cats making crazy.
All right, let me pull up the chat. Engaged, yes. Interesting speakers, people having fun. Yeah, if you're offering an experience that people are afraid to miss because it genuinely sounds like a good time, that's an indicator of vibrancy. Growing membership, diversity, strong leadership, happy members, inclusivity, all are part of that vibrant club experience. So a lot of times we know it when we see it, right? When we join a meeting and we're like, okay, this club has something. And what do we find are the most common barriers that clubs face when it comes to being vibrant? Right. Yeah, on Zoom, helping members make that translation into an online environment. And if it's not done successfully, that can definitely make people feel left out.
Yeah.
Yeah, say that fear of change can be a big indicator. Yeah, losing touch virtually. If that's the only way that you're keeping touch with your members, you can feel kind of invisible, and start to lose that engagement. Yeah, keeping up with the traditions, that translation, all these are really good examples of those barriers. The stale ideas, like if we don't find a way to make that translation, if the meetings aren't fun or exciting or interesting, sometimes even personal or club politics get in the way. And then burnout too. Like I said, like the members that maybe aren't engaged as much as they were in person, they feel like maybe their work isn't valued. So these are great examples. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Marvin. They called 7 members who called members who hadn't made the last 2 meetings. That's a great way to keep in touch. So yeah, these are, oh, sorry, jumped it back a slide. I don't know how I did that. But yeah, these are examples of ways that we can get around this. And some of the ways that you can help foster this vibrant club culture, assessing your members in the communities. And maybe right now doing it multiple times, right? Some of the needs that we had back in April have changed several times over since then. This is a strange time. But getting in the habit of making that outreach to your members to see what they're needing. Same thing with leaders in the community or partners in the community, seeing where the most relevant needs are so that your club can help tackle it and stay relevant. Making sure that you understand your value proposition, that your current members know it so that prospective members have an idea what your club's all about. And then developing a plan. Even if you have to adapt that plan, having something to work off of can really help still move things forward so you're not constantly reinventing the wheel. And I'm going to pass it over to Steve.
Well, like a lot of Rotary clubs in the United States, the Rotary Club of Rochester, Minnesota was struggling with a decline in meeting attendance and thereby losing member engagement. And many of the younger working members struggled to balance the demands of a career and a family with their desire to serve. Now, admittedly, this all started pre-COVID, but it's equally applicable to clubs today that are meeting virtually or in some sort of a hybrid situation. So the first thing they did, which they could have easily done virtually, was they had a brainstorming session. Some might call it a strategic planning session or just a planning session, but they came to the conclusion they really needed to improve their club's public image, that they weren't well known in the community, people didn't know what they stood for, and they didn't have a good public image. So they went to work on that, and by that very change increased their membership. They boosted member participation and attendance, and as a result, they made the difficult decision to change. I know change is a tough word in Rotary, but in this instance, they changed their meeting time. They changed the fact that they were going to have online meetings sprinkled together with other types of meetings. They were going to change their meeting time. And all of this was based on them using the document that's shown on the screen right now, which is called Be a Vibrant Club resource. And I'm sure you may be familiar with the document, but it's worth a reread now in the environment that we are in. And we're going to go ahead and forward that document over to Christine so that she can get a copy to each of you in PDF format. And then I find it to be an inspiring piece just to kind of get the ball rolling on changes within your club to make it more vibrant and appealing to guests and visitors. What it really comes down to is being open to try new and different approaches in this ever-evolving world that we're in. So again, we'll get this document over to Christine and reread it with the frame of mind that it's addressing issues that we can deal with right now, even in a virtual environment. Right, Julie?
Exactly. And we've done a lot of research off of what members want, and this includes both prospective members and current members. Both are really relevant to understand. And the top 3 things that they said that they wanted were local community service, friendship and fellowship, and then professional development opportunities. So when we look at potential and current members of both Rotary and Rotaract, what they value the most, we see these service projects, we see that impact in the community, but potential members and younger professionals in particular also want to make a change globally and foster their careers through professional development and networking. And Rotary can offer that. And also, you don't have to, if you do find that prospective members or your existing members are wanting that professional or personal development, you don't have to create some kind of formal strategy. There's actually a lot of resources on Rotary.org. There's a whole new series from Toastmasters International we partnered with to help them develop professionally and personally. So just keeping that in mind. But every service project or event you hold is a chance for someone to lead and grow, keeping that in mind. And then also current members value community service, friendship and fellowship, and connecting with people outside of their work and and circle of friends. So it's really important to understand that dynamic of what initially brings them in, but then what kind of cements their relationship to that club. And for the bad news, Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. So as we heard earlier, as Christine was doing the introduction, it's no mystery that we are indeed losing members. And so let's look at the data. What are the 3 top things that make people leave? Unfortunately, one of the main ones, 30% of the members that had resigned or quit cited either cost or time as the primary reason that they left. And you know, the job of being a Rotarian should never be seen as a time commitment that's too great for a busy professional to consider, because those are the exact people we need and want most in Rotary, the ones that have a potential of serving for decades within Rotary. And we need to meet people right where they are, no matter what stage of life they're in, whether they're a young professional or whether they're recently retired. We need to welcome them all in. A growing number of departing members also, unfortunately, cite the club environment. And this is getting back to the vibrancy or the appeal of the meeting. So if you joined with a certain expectation and you were excited to join Rotary, only to discover that the experience of the club environment really isn't what was represented at all, you'll probably end up leaving. And so these are things we need to think about as we're addressing both the virtual and in-person meetings into the future. How are we going to make sure that the experience that we're providing is the experience that the person that joined wanted? Julie?
Oops, sorry. My computer keeps having some issues. Thank you for your patience. All right, so now we're going to talk about what you came here for, attracting those new members. As you might have noticed already, if you create that vibrant environment, many times that's enough to draw in people on its own, but we're going to discuss some specific strategy for outreach, especially during COVID times. I'll pass it back to Steve.
You bet. So let's start to tear this down piece by piece. As you're aware, you know, many of our clubs have moved into a virtual environment. And so it's more important than ever to make sure that your social media and online presence is both accurate and up to date. Let me just throw out a few ideas and then we're going to open it up for discussion. If you think about making interesting and engaging social media posts, you want those posts to promote your meetings, your events, service opportunities. And here's a big one: interesting upcoming speakers. As you just mentioned, you can have someone from Australia or India come to your virtual meeting, and that could be very attractive to potential members. You can use different platforms than you may be using currently. Anybody ever heard of Nextdoor? Yeah, several of you have. Nextdoor is a real popular way of getting local information out to people that are not necessarily Rotarians. Facebook, of course, Instagram, LinkedIn. But think deeper. Go to like community forums. Most chambers of commerce have a bulletin board that you can promote upcoming events on. And you know, you don't have to put the link and the password to your Zoom meeting and have unwanted guests. Just put up, you know, who they can get hold of for further information, or a link to your website that shows them how to get further information. And business networking sites. There can be any number of them. There's executive associations, all sorts of different types of online platforms. But you know, as you reach out to new community residents or recent retirees, or even Peace Corps volunteers that are always looking for volunteer opportunities, those of you that are familiar with what was called Rotary First Harvest, or now called Harvest Against Hunger, they have many people that are retired out of the Peace Corps that come and volunteer with them. And then encourage to spread the word of upcoming events with family and friends and colleagues and members of other organizations that you belong to in your community. It's a great opportunity to say, hey, we're having this really interesting speaker next week that's going to be zooming in from India. Why don't you join us? And then to partner with and collaborate with local businesses. And this is the one I want to touch on, and then we'll open it into an open discussion, because it may give you some thought for something you could do in your community. We were approached up in the Seattle area by 3 of the hospitals as to whether there might be the ability to provide meals to the frontline people that were working at the hospital as the COVID virus started to emerge in our area. And we went to local restaurants and asked them if they would give us a deal on prepared meals. And then we took money from our foundation and bought those meals and then had them distributed to the frontline people. We also found out that a couple of the food banks that were particularly sought after during the beginning of the COVID were way short on their food, and there were a lot of people that were nutritionally challenged during the beginning of the pandemic. And so we created a working relationship with Jubilee Reach, which was a nonprofit in the area, and we delivered to them enough food for 500 families on a weekly basis, and this continues to this date. But what the unintended consequence was, and the reason that I wanted to share this experience, was that we ended up getting 5 new members to the Rotary Club that were either owners or managers of restaurants, and the CEO of Jubilee Reach. They all came to our meetings and participated in this project virtually and in person, and then ended up becoming members of our clubs. So you got to maintain and nurture those relationships and partnerships that you form, because they could very well be your potential future members. So just following up and developing a path for membership for the people that you partner with can be an extremely important part of your membership plan. And Julie, maybe you could tell them a little example from the Rotary Club of North Cobb before we throw it into the open discussion. What do you think?
Sure, and I love the example you shared. Very, very nice. So this is the Rotary Club of North Cobb, and they've nearly doubled the size of their club from 33 members to 61 members over the past 5 years. And it's been almost exclusively through word of mouth. How they've done it is every new Rotarian that joins their club, they interview them and figure out what's their passion project, what gets them fired up wanting to serve or engage in the community. And then the club actively takes steps to either join an existing project and partner, or create a project around that passion. And because it's not like, oh, well, you're new, eventually we'll get around to it, because they do it so immediately, it cements their commitment to that club, because they see now you actually can get things done with this group, and you can get it done quicker than maybe on your own. So they go back, they tell their friends about what's happened, and that's just brought in people one after one. So this approach has really created a diverse, energetic, and vibrant club experience for both new and existing members, because the existing members then get revved up about new opportunities maybe they hadn't thought of or hadn't done previously. And another last quick example before we go to the discussion, I just heard about this, the Centennial Rotary Club. They've grown their membership, I believe, by 7 members since July, just because they're reminding members to think about the people in their life who might make a great member and also benefit from the experience they get in Rotary and the speaker series they've designed. So sometimes it doesn't have to be a giant strategy. Sometimes it can be really simple, as much of it as a reminder. So, all right. And now let's get to it.
Zoom meeting right now. Who is this and what's it about?
All right, and we want to hear from you. What do you think has been a challenge with doing virtual outreach? What do you think you've tried that's worked? We want to hear your ideas and your thoughts.
One thing I've tried is, and this we should have been doing all along, but I invite every speaker to join Rotary. It's on my agenda so that I don't forget. But these are people that are usually involved in some passion that they're speaking about, so they're really good targets. And besides giving them 10 vaccinations in their name, to help us with polio, which is a nice little thank you, an invitation to join us. Now, has it been hugely successful? No, but you're planting seeds.
Yeah.
Isn't there that Wayne Gretzky quote about you miss 100% of the shots you don't take? Like that's the whole point, right? Like obviously you're inviting them as a speaker because they have something valuable to say. So I think it's great that you've been inviting them to join.
And, most clubs are partnering with other organizations, but you need to sit and think about that. Who have we partnered with over the last 5 years? And who are we partnering with right now during the pandemic? And how can we approach those people to come to our meetings? Maybe it's to present them with a Paul Harris Fellow or something, but get them in the door. And then when they see what you're doing, it's really an opportunity to grow membership.
Oh, great. Thanks, Bev. 2 out of the last 3 members they've gotten have been speakers. That's wonderful.
Cool.
Great example.
That. Yeah,
Anybody
even
else?
my club, we got, I went to a Chamber of Commerce social hour that they put on, connected with someone there, and they're on the path to membership with my club already. But that was a seed I had to plant because she's a fitness instructor of her own business, and our meetings clashed with her time of a class. And that didn't bother her. She still wanted to hear updates. She still was sending me messages, and now she's in it. So
I was just involved in the International Assembly where we train all the incoming governors from around the world. And we had several breakout sessions on membership and creating a more welcoming environment. And it was really interesting how many people have said that they had heard through an existing member or a former member that so-and-so was at home as a shut-in and didn't have any ability to get onto Zoom or anything like that. So they started they rounded up a bunch of old iPads, and everybody's got an old iPad laying around somewhere. And so they brought like 24 of them over to the Rotary head office, and they put Zoom on it, and they went out and distributed these to people that were shut-ins and invited them to come to our meetings. And it's really worked well. And it's funny how, in 48 hours, I think we collected 25 iPads. So, but it's a real good way to be able to get it because you can put it all on there and then they just press a button and boom, they're in the meeting.
I have a question. Has anyone invited people to volunteer on their projects that aren't Rotarians? Dawn, you're shaking your head yes. What happened? Can you unmute?
Well, our club is kind of known to be a hands-on club anyway, and there's a high-profile project in Grants Pass right now, Foundry Village. And it's taken, I mean, we've done some demolition of some areas to get material for Foundry Village, et cetera. And really the head, who is in our Rotary, it's Bev Walker's husband, who's just been wonderful. He gathers up a lot of other individuals who love to do something like that. So it's kind of a community core, really. So we do have that whole extension. We did a senior garden last year, the same thing. Lots of people who weren't Rotarians came in and helped. So I think it's a positive way to get people involved.
Bill, you just posted something in there. I think that comes up a lot and is really super important, that just because someone attends as a guest to hear a speaker they like or something, doesn't mean they're automatically becoming a member. So I think you're right. There has to be a protocol in place to make sure that you vet any potential members. Each club's going to be a little bit different on what their vetting requirements are, obviously. But I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I mean, if it's someone that's joining purely for business, it might not be the best candidate to join your club. But if they really have a heart for service, and you can feel that right away after you interview them, whoever interviews them, then it's probably worth going to the next step. But we have, I think, every week 15 to 20 guests that attend the meeting that are not ever going to become Rotarians in their current state. But like Christine said, it's planting those seeds, or like an old boss of mine used to say, it's all bread on the water. But if that person 5 years down the road may remember how kind everybody was to them at that virtual meeting when we had the coach for the Mariners baseball team speak last week. And so we had a lot of Zoom ins that just wanted to hear him talk about what things were going to look like. But those, who knows? You just, right?
Suana, you posted something I'd like you to elaborate on about your Amazon Creek project. You have to unmute.
Yes, we've been doing that minimum 2 or 3 times a year, cooperate with the city parks and recreation. And whenever I send out, member, not everyone has to join, but when they come, I always said, invite your family, anyone welcome. And their kids love it, the spouse love it. That's all they want to do.
Thank you. It's just, even if we don't get members, we're promoting Rotary outside of our club. And there aren't enough people out in the world that know what Rotary is. They think well, anyway, I'm not even going to go there. But they don't realize what a heart we have in the service part of our organization. That, Mimi, can you unmute yourself? You're nodding your head.
Well, it's so true. We're trying to get someone in our club from the local newspaper. When I was in Rotary in California, we had the publisher in our club, and not only did he do our bulletin, but we were in the paper all the time. So that's one way. But also I've been trying to get several things that you suggested, Chris. A list of the volunteers, the businesses and people that volunteer for our Festival of Lights that we have annually, and also our speakers. And I'm going to reach out to get the parents' email of students that receive scholarships, because all of them should be invited. And once I get their email, I plan on broadcasting and doing an email out to them and personally inviting them into Rotary.
I love that. I love that you're taking into consideration the parents of volunteer recipients. I mean, I feel like a lot of times the parents and family of youth leadership programs and recipients like that are oftentimes overlooked. And I think back to Bill's comment about, is it a best practice or a worst practice on judging whether they have the time, I think there's also room for discussion on what engagement looks like. Every once in a while, you've got somebody who is like, maybe they're a young parent and they're like, that time it'll never work, but I'll watch the recordings if you send them to me. I'll help out with this project if you need a hand. I'll lead on this. I think incorporating that into kind of your interview and assessment of them could be really helpful, because maybe it won't be a conventional looking membership, but I think that that's okay. There's room for all, and that flexibility, showing that inclusivity, it's really meaningful to people, especially right now. I feel like young parents are stretched really thin, and they want to be there. They want to be a part of it. So
Well,
And if
thanks
I-
for a little more discussion on this. You know, sometimes folks that I've seen come into Rotary that I thought would be really superstar, really engaged Rotarians, maybe never engaged or just engaged a little bit. And then others that I thought maybe they were coming in for an ulterior motive, turned out to be really, really engaged Rotarians if just given a little time to, I know we're not supposed to say this, but drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, if I could tag on to what Julie and Bill just said, there's a Rotary, I was on the phone for about an hour and a half yesterday trying to walk through this Rotary Club that is creating a new class of membership called Rotary V, and it stands for a volunteer, but they're going to be dues paying members, but not voting members of the club. And when I first read it, I thought, well, how's that going to possibly work? Well, they have no attendance requirement at all, but all they cover is the dues and the for RI and district, but they're considered a member of the Rotary Club. And it's a crazy idea, but you know, the reality is we're encouraging all the district governors from around the world to try crazy new ideas. And even if it just sounds completely nuts, give it a try and see how it works. But I was thinking of the guy you're talking about, Bill, that maybe really didn't seem like he was going to be a good Rotarian at all, but he got bitten by the service bug, or got bitten by the international service bug, or whatever it happened to look like, right?
That club you described, Steve, sounds a little bit like the Rotary Community Corps concept. Corvallis toyed around with that a little bit here a couple of years ago, and it didn't really take off, but it doesn't mean it's not worth trying.
Yeah, I'll report back to you on it because I've got a real keen eye on it. It's called the Mill Creek Club, and I'll get more information on it and share it with Christine and your group. But it sounds pretty exciting.
I think some food for thought too. And I was just thinking about this, you know, the energy and passion of folks on this call when they talk about their clubs or ideas. If you might be able to talk very clearly and passionately about your club, but are all of your members able to convey something like that, like an elevator speech, so to speak, that they're really excited about when they talk about their club, but clearly kind of conveys what they're about? Because if they just describe your club as, we get together for lunch, there's a speaker, that doesn't sound very appealing. But if they're on the phone with a client, or if they're on the phone with a friend or a colleague, and they talk with genuine excitement about what their club has to offer, many times, I would say probably 50% of the time, you will get somebody asking, that actually sounds really nice. Like, do you mind if I go to the next meeting? A lot of times it's like, you're not intentionally, like, you're not manipulative or, you know, in the baiting, but it is kind of baiting in the sense of like, I'm a part of this really awesome thing, and I bet you want to be a part of it too. So maybe there's room for like a competition amongst your members about like the best elevator speech describing your club. It could give some ideas about how people could talk about your clubs, and then that might again, that word of mouth virtually about what your club's doing could be really effective.
That's a good idea.
Mimi, you had your hand up too.
Thanks. Yes. What I have found is that some members don't feel comfortable about inviting others to become members or even participate in our club. So I think I just asked for the name, the contact information, and then we'll reach out to them for that purpose.
That's wise. That's a good strategy.
Janet Houston, you looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Did I? I was nodding my head. I thought the elevator speech, working on that, practicing it, is a really good idea. But you know, one of the things that honestly, is it the truth? I know in COVID, I've suffered from this environment we're in. My enthusiasm isn't as great. I sit home by myself with the dog and hunkering down, and I find I have to lift myself up. If I'm feeling this, I'm on the board. I've been active for years. I love Rotary, but if I'm feeling this, so are my members. And you know, just sitting here today, I hadn't put it together. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to pick myself up by my bootstraps so, you know, I can be more helpful to others and encourage. So that's just a little thing I thought I better say, because that's really how I've been feeling.
And you're not the only one, Janet. We're
Oh,
we're
that's
all
good.
going
Yeah.
through this in various stages, but it's impacted our whole, you know, our flow. Kim and Marvin both had some good suggestions in the chat box. Kim, you want to talk about yours?
Well, let's see what I put in. I had a couple. Well, I know we kind of brought back member of the month, Rotarian of the month, which isn't a huge big deal. It kind of just helps to you know, light up someone who maybe isn't always out there in the forefront, but they're working in the background. I avoid doing any board members, but, and then we haven't quite got it on board yet, but we're working on starting to do a more one-on-one interview process, which we would do on the meeting. Now I see Marvin says he puts this in their newsletter, in their 4x4, but anyway, it's something we're going to try to get going and either start doing it with the member of the month or a new member. I'm still working that out.
You remember when very early on in our meetings, someone mentioned the breakout rooms?
Yeah, those are great.
I took that back to my president, and we've been doing the breakout rooms every meeting, and our membership loves it because you get a little bit of the one-on-one. And so that's really been great. And I guess that would be in part retention.
Yeah. How long do you guys do breakout?
Pardon me?
How long do you guys do breakout?
I think the breakouts are just about 5.
Yeah, see, I've been working on 8 minutes and they
5 to 8. I'm not sure, Kim. I'd have to look. Yeah. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, sometimes I run out of time because I try for 8 minutes and they'll be like, oh, we want more time.
Yeah.
That's a great problem.
We can have a meeting, it's all breakout. Yeah.
It's a good way for people that are a little shyer, like some of us speak up and we're the first ones to start talking, even in a group like this. And some of you, I haven't heard from yet. And Marvin, I'm surprised.
Oh, I'm just listening. Okay,
you've always got a good idea or two up your sleeve, and why don't you share one about virtual recruiting?
Well, one of the things that we do now is anyone that is a possible nominee to join the club, we go about it a little differently. 2.5 years ago, we lost 2 people, and I hate when people leave. So I talked to both of them. Both were in their early 30s. Both were in the club less than 3 months.
Oh, he froze.
I think
Yeah, I
business.
think he's having connections.
So what we did was, can you hear me?
You keep freezing.
Hello? Oh, sorry about that. Don't know why. So what we do now is that when someone expresses an interest, wherever they come from, as membership chair, I will call them and invite them to attend our Zoom meetings. Then during that time, I contact them right after the Zoom meeting, see if it was of interest and things like that. We do this for 3 times. At the end of the 3 times, I just come out and say, look, are you interested in the club? And those 3 times can be 3 consecutive weeks, or it can be 2 months, whatever it might be. If it is, and it was basically pointed out earlier in this Zoom meeting, we want to make sure that the club can fulfill their passion. And then we ask them what that passion is. Then we show them all the activities that we do. If the answer is yes, and they want to continue, then I ask them for a picture and a short bio that goes out to the club. Once, just for comments. If there are no comments, then we ask them to fill out an application. We have done this now for 2 years. We have only lost 1 member in 2 years, and that's because of a move. And we've inducted 2 members in the last 2 months. We have 3 members that will be inducted in the next month. So like that one club that was in 5 years, it went from 33 to 60. We're going from 32 to 57, 58. Our older members don't like Zoom. So we're reaching out to them as much as we can. We got a $500 grant for our hybrid meetings. And I have a meeting next week with a company called Owl Labs. Tomorrow with Owl Labs. And they have a new way of doing Zoom presentations with some products that they're not on their website yet. We figured it'll cost the club close to $3,000 to really have adequate hybrid meetings that can get everybody involved. So we're investigating that as well. So I think
Marvin, when you get that going, will you send me an invite? I would love to check that out, and I might not be the only one that would love to come to a Redmond meeting virtually to check this hybrid. I don't have $3,000 in my budget, but it's a cool idea.
Well, I'm guessing from what some of their equipment costs now, I'll know more. And then as soon as I know more, and typically their format is you have to have a widescreen TV someplace as the base, which is fine when we have our regular meetings in person, because we have that. I approach them, okay, if we have a laptop, how can we use your system? So that's where it's going. If it works out and the information I think is beneficial to all concerned, I will send that information to Christine, and then we can go from there.
Good deal. Who else hasn't had a chance to share a challenge, an idea that kind of works, or an idea that almost works, but maybe could use a piggyback on the idea? We've got about less than 10 minutes.
Our newsletter has brought a lot of people together.
Right. I know, I've seen it. Jill Thompson, you had your hand up.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I was just curious on the interview process for potential members. Do you conduct that virtually? Our county is shut down now. We don't have any inside meetings available to us. And given the weather, outside meetings are chilly, to say the least. So it almost is a Zoom situation. Any ideas? I mean, a couple of you have mentioned that you are interviewing potential members.
Phone calls will work too, in case they struggle with technology, if that's something they need support with.
Okay. So it's a one-on-one situation more than a committee, or?
No, one-on-one, then it doesn't become overwhelming for the individual. But then what you can do is that after your initial contact, have another membership committee member call them. okay, on a one-to-one. And that seems to work as well.
Okay, thank you.
So
Let's
this
see.
might seem a
Patty,
little.
what's going on over on the coast?
Well, one of the things that frustrates me as the membership chair with my club is that they have a tendency to not support younger people. Like we just inducted a college student and they get really hung up on how long they're going to be around. And I noticed that we had 2 younger folks join in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, and they were members for a couple years, and life happens, and you know, they were very active and did a lot while they were in, but you can't always predict, you know, how long somebody's going to be in. And this one young man that we just inducted, he will probably go and be in Rotary wherever he lands, whether or not he lands back in our community or not, but he's got quite a bit of schooling to do and wants to be an MD someday. So we're laying seeds for that, but that sometimes is a tough sell in my club. I don't know if the rest of you, and I don't know if that's because of we have an older club or what.
Steve, what would you tell them? These people in her club that are reticent to, you know, invest their time in these younger members. I didn't mean to roll my eyes, sorry.
Well, I mean, this is one of the toughest topics you'll ever have to deal with you know, members creating an inadvertently hostile environment. They're not doing it on purpose. They're not doing it because they dislike growing Rotary or they dislike younger members. But when that pervasive attitude comes out that we're not interested in investing time in you because we don't know how long you're going to stick around, that sort of is a self-fulfilling prophecy in many instances. So it's an education, and the people that are doing it, 90% of the time, they don't even realize that they're doing it. It can be a racial issue as well. I mean, there's so many different areas where this DEI comes in, and one of them is age discrimination that's unintentional, but creates a non-vibrant environment, if you will. Yeah. And so it's a tough one, and there is no, you know, one size fits all answer to it. But somebody needs to sit down with those members and say, look, you know, we're looking at the future of Rotary here. And it maybe the Redmond Club has some ideas on how to deal with that. I know that you guys have certainly done some amazing things over the last couple of years. We've been watching you.
That we had that case too. Our club was, you know, 50 and older for the longest time. So what we've done is we've gone to the older members, and our club was established in 1952. We basically went to the older members and said, you know, we're having problems with getting new people, and asked them what they thought, how we could, you know, basically engage other people for the club. Then during that time, you pick out one thing that they said, which is the reason you're going to talk to them, for them to support younger members. Okay. Every one of our older members, including our 94-year-old, is supportive of the 30-year-old. Our membership runs from 30 to 94. Our board is 6 decades in age. So, and we're getting a lot of younger people now. And then you make the older members mentors to the younger members, so they're involved, and that's what we do.
Okay, who hasn't shared anything? I see you, Mimi. I just want to make sure that everybody gets a chance.
I think Daniel had wanted to say something.
This might be a little tangential. I do have a question. We've just started at a last board meeting, have a conversation about post-pandemic, what the post-pandemic club will look like. And we've actually had some success recruiting new members that have never been to an in-person meeting. We have a couple of other folks that are lined up to be joining here within the next month or two. And one of the things we're finding is that ease of access to at least experience the club, even virtually, might continue to play a role, as well as was mentioned earlier, being able to get really good quality speakers from all over the place, which we've had a lot of luck with internationally and around the country. So one of the things I wanted to put out there is that we're all really looking forward to the ability to get together in person again. And we're starting to have a conversation about what that would look like and what the criteria would be for when we would start to do that, including the regulatory environment. But one of the things we want to do is work with other clubs to learn best practices for how to do hybrid meetings, where into the future, we can, for those that are able to join us in person, we will not lose the ability for folks to be able to join us virtually. So there's some a lot of details and wrinkles to work out what that would look like and what kind of a platform we would need in order to do that. So I just wanted to put that out there, that as people sort of look at what their format is going to be once they do start to meet in person, I would be very interested in hearing what some of the setups are that can maximize the hybrid approach.
To that end, Daniel, we had a meeting, our forum about three or four months ago was on hybrid meetings. And we agreed at that time that we needed to have a follow-up meeting because we kind of planted the seeds in people's heads at that time about hybrid meetings. And Corey Leparty from the Seattle area gave us a good basis for considering that option, because a lot of clubs are thinking about doing that in the long term as a hybrid meeting. And we will probably have a follow-up in the next, I'm going to say 3 months to that, because now we know a little bit about what we didn't know before, and we're still learning. This is a steep learning curve, but it's something that I think is, there will not be a return to normal. Normal is going to look different after COVID. And I don't think that's all bad. I think there's a good, we have a lot of potential for recruiting, for engaging, for growing Rotary and the service projects we do because of what we've been forced to learn through this pandemic. I'm going to take this minute now to thank Steve and Julie for giving us a good start on this conversation. You guys were awesome. Everybody that participated, thank you. Those of you that didn't get a chance, that hour just goes so darn fast. Now, next month, we are either going to have a facilitator from Nigeria or India to talk about what in the heck are they doing over there that they're growing and we're not. If I can't find somebody for that, we will probably be talking about retaining long-term members, which was the next item up on the poll that you wanted to hear about. After that, next month, I'll probably poll you again with a bunch of topic ideas and have you choose what you want for the next few months going forward. Does that sound good? Oh, look at all those heads nodding and things. I love it. You guys, I love seeing you every month too. This is one way of, I can't zoom into everybody's meetings, but if you'd like to invite me or any of us to your meetings, shoot off an invite. If you're not meeting on Thursday noon, I might be able to show up. Anyway, talk to you next month. I'll send out information tomorrow for the recap, okay?
Thank you, Julie. Stephen.
Thanks. This is great.
Thanks again, Julie and Steve.
Yes,
This
thank
meeting
you.
goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's always my effort to get everybody talking, so that's why I do.
No, I love these. I love these. I was telling Steve when you talked about it, it was like, oh my God, I love this format. You know, it's very engaging and you record it for folks who can't make it. I love
Right.
it.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your willingness to set the stage, because that's so important to get us focused, and it's hard to stay focused. Of course, we wander off on what do we do with our senior members and what do we do with this and that, but we plant a lot of seeds in these meetings, and I really appreciate your help.
Thanks
Of
for your
course.
leadership, Christine. It's
Oh, thank you, Harry.
Very good.
Good job.
Always fun to see you. See you again next week, Mimi and Kim. Yeah, I have to talk to you about Zooming at some point in time when I get a break from Zooming.
Exactly.
Well, I'm off to my next Zoom now, so I'll see you
Yeah,
guys.
me too. I've got to go help Albany
Have a
Club.
great day, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You can end now. Bye.